Morning. That was an interesting night. Rain kicked in at some point. I think it was after midnight, wee hours. Nothing too heavy, just a light drizzle. Yeah, worked okay in the bivvy bag. Probably would have been more comfy if I'd put a shelter up, but yeah, she was fine. Definitely a mixed night. Had some better sleep than the night before, but also spent a fair bit of time awake, especially when the rain kicked in. I've ended up sleeping a bit later, I guess, because it's a bit overcast still. So it's just after 7 now, so that's not bad. I don't have a punishing schedule today, so I'm going to get my ass out of bed and make some breakfast. Oh, for coffee. This thing was a ridiculous luxury to bring along, but it's been worth it every time I've brewed a coffee so far. So yeah, stupid, but rewarding. Here's another little luxury. Brought 2 of these. I don't normally like buying them because they're bloody expensive and they don't pack real small, even though they're light. But I figured I'd get 2 of them. I got porridge the other days, but this backcountry meals cooked breakfast is the freaking business. Righto, that's goodbye to Leopardizamia Bush Camp. Heading off on where I guess the real adventure starts. Today's plan is to head along Middle Cobble Break and from there choose a spot to go bush down the ridge line to try and find Cobble Creek, because South Cobble Remote Bush Camp is off the creek line. There's not really a trail to it, so it's going to be a bit of an adventure. It's going to be a bit of a test. I don't know. I'm hoping there's a spot that's not quite as overgrown as all of this to get down, but we'll see. The weather hasn't improved much, which is also quite nice. It means it's a bit cooler. Yeah, all in all, I'm fired up, ready to give it a go. So, left the trail from Middle Cobble Break. I'm heading up the ridgeline to get over to South Cobble Creek, but not far off the trail, and I've already hit this land of the grass trees, which is stunning. So yeah, it's hard ground, but it's already been worth it. So, partway up this slog of a climb, I found a little, I don't know if it's a wallaby track or just a water runoff spot, but it's a clean enough path that I'm not having to push my way through undergrowth, which has probably doubled my speed up here. Nearing the peak, but yeah, this little trail has made it half as nasty as it was going to be, so I've made good time. And once again, we're still in the land where grass trees grow. So utterly, utterly gorgeous. So we've made it to the top of the hill, which is great. It's not the prettiest spot up here, but yeah, not much of a view either. The trees are too high, but still it's a good spot to sit, have a break, have a drink, and then try and figure out exactly which way to go. I'm gonna have to check my maps. Pretty sure I want to go east-northeast, and there's a saddle down here, and once I reach the saddle I turn pretty much south-southeast-ish till I hit the creek. But I mean, broadly speaking, it's pretty hard to get lost from here, because all I have to do is turn south downhill and I'll get to Cobble Creek South Branch. But you know, straight south isn't necessarily the easiest route, so we're going to hopefully find something a bit cruisier. And we've started our descent. Now heading roughly southeast down a ridge line, which, all being well, should take me to the south branch of Cobble Creek, and from there not too far to camp. It's about a kilometre descent, which, let's face it, is going to take some time in this terrain. But there is this little path through here, and I'm pretty certain now that it's not a wallaby or a runoff path. I'm pretty sure this is either a cut or at least regularly walked trail through here. So I'm not the first one to have this idea, which, duh, considering there's a campsite down the bottom, but yeah, it's making my life a lot easier. I'd be struggling through some of this area without it. There's some pretty thick lantana thickets. So yeah, check in again soon. So it's been about 2 hours now since I left camp, and thanks to finding these little trails, which, yeah, must be regular hikers through here, because some of the paths through the lantana were cut and trampled, so that wasn't a wallaby track anyway, unless there's something much bigger busting through. But I'm assuming I've just found the hiking trail that's not marked on any of the maps. Like I say, it's been about 2 hours, so I've made pretty good time. Just going to stop and have a cuppa. Had to force myself to stop. I got a bad habit of just wanting to plod along, and I think that's what ends up with me being fucked by the end of a day like yesterday. So I've just got to say, it's been 2 hours, just stop, have a break, have a cuppa, and yeah, chill out for 15-20 minutes, and you'll be so much better for it when you keep walking. Well, that was a good little pit stop. Just a good time to have a sit down and cuppa, relax a bit, get off my feet. And now we're heading back down the ridge. Should have about a K to go, but in this terrain I'm going to give it a good 45 minutes or so to an hour, depending, because I think it gets pretty steep again soon. But yeah, once we get to the creek, not too far from camp there. So far, it's been a good little day. A couple of testing bits, but yeah, so far nice and, dare I say, relaxing. Well, this is bloody slow going. It's pretty steep, and I know the camera never shows how steep it is. Look at that. That looks like a nice, gentle stroll, but it's steep. But anyway, we keep cracking on. I think I'm probably about a third of the way, but then looking down the gorge, I think maybe I might be being optimistic. Like I say, it's bloody slow going on this. But anywho, crack on, talk to you in a bit. All right, taking a moment to sit down again. Found a nice convenient rock, which I'll just have to do. Yeah, this is a struggle now. Again, in the best possible way. But yeah, it's steep, it's uneven, lots of slippy rocks and crap like that. I'm pretty sure that I can see the bottom now, or if not the bottom, at least close to it. But yeah, still got a ways to go. And we're sitting on our house again. Again, I don't think I got much further to go. I reckon I'm probably less than a quarter of the way there. I can pretty much see the bottom of the gorge as I'm looking at it now. But yeah, this hill, and again, bloody cameras don't show it. I reckon that's it's probably a 1 in 2 hill. It's just mad, and there it drops off again. I've just had to stop, take the boots off. I'm starting to get hot spots from walking sideways because of how steep the hill is. So I'm just giving the feet a little bit of air. Hopefully I don't end up with blisters, because that'll suck for tomorrow and the day after. But for now, I'm just going to sit and enjoy. Well, that was tough, but it was worth it. Here we are, finally down by Cobble Creek. Camp should be around about another half a k that way. Hopefully I don't have to do too much rock hopping. It looks like it's fairly wide through here, must flood through occasionally. But yeah, there and up there is where we came from. So that'll be the return trip tomorrow. We have arrived. Cobble Creek, South Cobble Remote Bush Camp. And remote it is. That's what we got. A couple of rocks for seats and a creek. So yeah, absolutely worth coming in for. Absolutely worth that motherfucker of a hike. But yeah, so now I'm gonna chill for a minute, then see about getting camp up, and we'll go from there. Just come down from camp for a little bit of a look around and found this beautiful little waterhole. There's another one a little bit closer to camp, but this one looks to be the business. One of the things on the agenda for tomorrow is a wash. So get in there, dunk the junk and have a bit of a clean up. I'm looking forward to that. So who wants to laugh at the idiot? That's camp over there, and I came in over here straight into camp, which is there, and then when I went exploring I went that way. I sort of saw that there was a bit of water this way, but I didn't really look. And what do we got here other than a swimming hole right by camp? Who'd have thunk it? Right, this is your warning. If you don't want to see an overweight middle-aged man doing a Gollum impersonation, I'd look away now. Oh. Oh. That is nice, but freezing. Oh my goodness. Whew. Won't be in here for long, but just what we needed to wake everything up. Oh, it's nice to have something of a wash after 3 days of nothing, stinking like a bastard. That'll be good. I'll have a bit of a swim tomorrow morning, put on my new clothes. I've got one change of clothes, so yeah, changing to the second set for day 4, and on we go. But right now, this is pretty damn magical. The end of day 3. Here's where we started out in the morning here at Lepidozamia Remote Bush Camp. Headed south for a little bit and jumped here onto the middle cobble break. This was fairly uneventful, just reasonable downhills. And then over here, roughly here somewhere, we turned off trail and headed up this spur to the peak here. So here's this saddle, cross the saddle, and on the lower part, this is where we turned broadly south And this is that long, brutal downhill slog. And as always, the maps, cameras, nothing really does it justice. But you can see how close together those lines are. And we drop down here into the base of Cobble Creek. From here, wandered along the creek line. This was quite a lovely walk. And ended up, not at South Cobble Bush Camp, but somewhere here just before it, where there was that lovely little pseudo campsite that someone else has set up. So, as miles go, this was one of the shortest days, but it was also one of the most difficult, just on trail and then just busting through the undergrowth, which really probably one of the most rewarding parts of this trip. And here we are, morning of day 4. Still a pretty ordinary night's sleep last night. That little pillow of mine's shut itself, so it keeps deflating on me after about an hour and a half. So yeah, that kept waking me up because my head's hitting the dirt. But anyway, tonight we'll fix that. I think I'll just fill a dry bag with some clothes and do it the old-fashioned way and not rely on fancy modern technologies. It's about 6:15, so I'm going to get some coffee on, have some breakfast, and then look at breaking camp and having a bit of a swim before we leave. And that's it. Farewell to South Cobble Bush Camp. This is definitely one I will be coming back to. Maybe even just for an overnighter. It's a slog to get in, but geez, is it worth it. All right, heading off day 4. Had a bit of a think about going back the way I came in. It's a murderous path, but at least I know it. Instead, I'm going to stick with my original plan, which is heading a little bit further downstream and then joining onto a spur which, at least topographically, should be a fair bit less difficult. The only danger is that I hit that and it's just overgrown and a real nightmare to walk on. I'm actually hoping that I'm going to find that little trodden path that I found yesterday, because I suspect where I turned off to come down the spur I came down, that path would go on and would come down this slightly more sensible route. So fingers crossed, because if I hit too much vegetation up there, I'm going to have to turn around and come back the way I came yesterday, which I'd rather not do. Anyway, time to crack on. So funny story, just found the marker for South Cobble Bush Camp. So apparently where I was not the camp. Anyway, let's head up here and have a look at it. And there you go. That's what this looks like here. Right, well, we'll know for next time. But on the plus side, I think there is a trail heading up the hill this way, and that would take me roughly where I need to go. So I'm gonna follow that, thinking that I wouldn't be the first person to come at this camp from this direction. Okay, so it's been about half an hour now coming up this spur, and it's been rough. It's been zigzag country, so I'm covering probably twice the ground that I'm actually making in distance. Having said that, if you can see the ridgeline in the distance, I've come a good way up from the canyon, so I reckon I'm probably bit over halfway already, which is significantly better time than I was making yesterday. I've probably got about 100, 200 meters to go that way, and I should be intersecting another spur that's coming up from the southeast. And when I hit that, I should be able to turn northwest, and it should be, saying should a lot, no confidence in your map reading skills, Kia. No, it will become a lot less steep, probably about half the steepness, so I should be able to make decent time up to the saddle ridge before dropping back down to the trail. So I've reached the spur that I was aiming for. So this one still got a hike to it, but it's a lot less steep. So it should be around about another kilometre along here until I hit the saddle from yesterday, and then drop back down to Middle Cobble Break to head down to Middle Cobble Bush Camp. Okay, made it to the western peak of the saddle. So that last section was a good chunk of just lantana hell, just breaking through, over, under, thickets of lantana everywhere. It was shit. But yeah, now we're where we're supposed to be. I'm going to cross the saddle, and at the other peak I'm going to stop and have lunch there. That's it. Made it to the top of the saddle. From here it's downhill back to join the path and then head down to Middle Cobble Break. Gonna have some lunch here. The stubborn part of me wants to just keep on kicking on, but reality is body wants some food. So I'm gonna sit here, have something to eat, and then head on down the hill and to the other camp. Well, that's enough sitting around. I ended up spending pretty much an hour, or just under an hour, sitting there having lunch. Soon as I stopped, just felt absolutely bone tired for the first time on this trip. Like I've been muscle fatigued and, tired, but then I just stopped and I just felt shattered. So, good sit down meal. I'm feeling good again. Got about a bit under half a K downhill to the trail, and then from there bit under a K to camp. All downhill. Not sure yet whether that's going to be better or worse than the uphill we've had, but we'll just keep on keeping on. And here we are, out of the undergrowth and back on the trail. Well, that was a fun mission, and it sucked most of the time while doing it, but holy crap, am I glad I did. That was really the off-trail adventure that I was looking for this trip, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow and the next day I've got a bit more creek hopping between Middle Cobble and North Cobble, and then from North Cobble out again. So I'm going to enjoy flat, graded roads for a bit. And here we have Middle Cobble Bush Camp. Nice enough looking spot. Mission and a half getting here the stupid way. But yeah, have a little relax before we do anything about camp. Just checking out this track out of camp, and look who's here. Big old monitor lizard. Probably a good metre long. I really wanted to go and have a look what's at the end of this track, but I don't really want to disturb this big fella. Or lady, sorry. So yeah, I'm going to turn around and leave you be, buddy. Oh, this is home for night 4. Not a lot of places to hang the tarp off here, so I've just gone for the trekking pole baker tent. I swear it's not deliberate that I'm doing a different tarp shelter every night. I'd be doing an A-frame every night if it was possible, because it's the simplest and just most enjoyable to spend time under. But yeah, not a lot of options here, so baker tent it is. We'll see. Who knows what happens tomorrow night. I'm pretty sure night 6 I'm going to have to make the tarp tent, so hell, we might try for 6 nights, 6 shelters. We'll see how we go. For now, it's still fairly early, so I'm going to chill out for a bit. Then I'm going to go for a little bit of a scouting look ahead, see what the path looks like for tomorrow, maybe take a couple of photos. So I came down to scout just how it would be going, follow this creek along. Saw the waterfall. That was all right to get past, wasn't too bad. Came down maybe 100 meters further, and I see this. And yeah, the idea of scrabbling down these rocks and trying to find a way with a pack on, even without a pack on, let's face it, there's potentially a path going through the hillside and down. But again, that's something to do and explore on a day when I don't have a full pack and gear. Be changing my plans. I'm glad I came for a scout and didn't come down here with a pack on and have to turn around. But so yeah, my plan is now, I'll have to go back and double check the maps, but I'll probably end up doing the middle cobble break back up to Lepidozamia, and then from there on to North Cobble, the way I was planning to head home tomorrow. But it's all good. Day 4. We wake up here, not quite at South Cobble Bush Camp, and what I really wanted to do was come and have a look at this ridge here, because I kind of thought this would be easier than the way I came in, and this was originally my plan until I decided to try coming down here. So wandered along, found the actual South Cobble camp, and from here, pretty much just out of camp, just headed up this hill, working on the idea that this was going to be steep, but then once I hit here and intersected this spur, it would be easier going, which it was to an extent until we got up here, and this section here, this was just the Lantana hell. It was really hard trying to find any sort of a beaten path, so a lot of it was just slogging through Lantana. Ended up pushing up, making this ridge, and here's where checking your directions is really important, because I pushed up this hill aiming to come up here, and somewhere in the undergrowth I got a little bit turned around and I came up to this peak. And so if I hadn't checked my compass, I would have thought I was standing up here facing down this hill and just wandered off back downhill, which I probably would have noticed pretty quickly. But luckily, checking direction made me realize I was in the wrong place, and I had to push up to the spur and then onto the saddle, cross the saddle, and here's where I had lunch. After lunch, there really wasn't much to it. Followed that trail, a little trample trail down here, back to Middle Cobble Break, and from there, wasn't difficult, it was just steep down into Middle Cobble Bush Camp.